as far as the current total.
Yeah, so Becky's starting off with Insurer on his rack, which anagrams to Ruinous, but Insurer is pretty, yeah, she pretty good start for her. Uh, and yeah, Becky is the only female player in this field, so it's gonna be nice to watch this game. Uh, nice to feature the only female that we have on the screen.
Assuming this placement of Insurer goes down, Feeks is an option for Scott immediately with an otherwise clunky rack. I mean, you're not going to like seeing your opponent start with the bingo regardless, but he's got a pretty strong play here to respond almost immediately. And he does do that. Interestingly, I had forgotten this about Scott. I don't know if it's just for this play or if it's in general, but he has the ability to play upside down without rotating the board.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing to do, I think. I know that the Nigerian players can do that quite pretty well. Yeah, but for me, I only do that if like I'm 100% sure that the play is the right play. Otherwise, I would probably spend a little bit of time to take a look. Um, yeah, he's playing upside down. That saves time. So he made his last play fix in 10 seconds, putting some pressure on Becky.
I see there was a spirited discussion involving some of the analysis tools after we went off the air. Just to confirm, when I was working in Bangkok as a commentator there, my co-commentator, that was Nits Chagti, she was using Magpie the whole time. It is command line based. It does not currently work on Windows natively. It is Linux technically that can be used, or there's a way to use Magpie through the terminal application on a Mac. I have not learned how to do this yet myself, but I did love seeing Nits using that tool. I think as Magpie becomes more available and easier to use for people in general, I think it will help revolutionize analysis in a way that Quackle first did. And Magpie basically uses a mix of Quackle and Macondo in terms of how it functions, and then has a lovely feature called a heat map, which is part of why I love it so much. But back to the game that we have here, I do see that Rob's mentioned Elk Hound was blocked for Becky. That is indeed unfortunate.
Yeah, for this play, it's interesting because I think the biggest score parallels Feek, but they are all the higher scoring options are a little bit dangerous. So something like HOKED would score probably the most points on this turn, but that's a little bit too open. So it happens. I think it appears that most of the oh, she plays HINK, which I don't think is a word. So is that being challenged? Okay, I'm not sure if it's being challenged.
It may be that she was thinking about hinky with a Y at the end, which is a word. But yes, as you've mentioned, hink on its own is not.
Yeah. And wow, so Scott is the one who's boldly opening the 9 timer lane with food. Yeah, so I was going to mention that on Becky's turn she could have played parallel to Insurer, like something like HOLK or HONK, a little bit more defensive and still scoring pretty well. Yeah, but now we have the board wide open, and well, it doesn't seem like Becky has great letters to make use of the B that's just open. Something like Obol, I guess, will get rid of quite a few of the duplicates that she has. Or, well, the interesting, well, I guess the tough to spot Lobolo as well, which It's a three. Yeah, it gets rid of all your duplicate O's and all your duplicate L's. That's a lovely word. So Jesse, do you think you would spot Lobolo in this position? It's a pretty tough word to spot, I would say. The oboe is pretty strong as well. She can play Booled, Booled, and Boodle. Of course, Boodle is slightly aggressive because yeah, it opens two triple letter scores for playing parallel. So yeah, she's thinking quite hard about this move, and rightly so.
Yeah, this is indeed one of those moves where it's good to take the time to measure and ponder your options. Just because the score, yes, Becky has bingoed early on. The score is relatively level. She is up a tempo, essentially. She's up 20 right now. And assuming she scores reasonably well, she'll be up a tempo plus some pocket change. So it is really worth having a look to see what can score well enough, balance well enough, and just keep herself up by that tempo. So the obvious spots, as you mentioned, involve using the line that Scott's created on the top. Um, yeah, she's going back and forth between a few and deciding which of all of them she likes better. I'm not sure which I'd pull the trigger on here personally. How about you? What are you leaning towards of the options?
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I see Lobolo, I will play it. But it's I think if you don't, then it's a question of I mean, would you want to sacrifice some points and play like Blood, Blood, right, which does not give triple letters score away in that sense. Um, yeah, I think I mean if I had if I saw Lobolo, I would play it for sure, and that's I think one reason is because it kind of makes it difficult to play from the triple letter score that is exposed to the double word score because of the L that you place at the front of the word. Yeah, but yeah, that's why I would play Lobolo. But other than that, I might consider if I don't see that, I think Oboe is a decent choice.
Yeah, I can't fault her at all for playing that in the end. Lobolo is indeed it's a tough spot for a lot of us. So yeah, a bowling perfectly reasonable. It scores well. It accomplishes really what you want to do, which is keep yourself up by a tempo and then some. Um, and between Lobolo and Oboli, either way, the triple letter score spot stays open in terms of volatility. So um, yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that as a choice. And then Scott going with rejig on here, which yet it does a nice job of scoring well. He keeps NG, which is decent enough together, especially when playing through the I in rejig or the E in ensure. There are options to create longer words. So I like it. I don't see much more that I would do besides that. I don't like the placement of rejig for using insurer at all. So yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice. I mean the benefit of playing Rejig above Insurer or below Insurer is that you have a direct spot to use your NG, right? Because you leave an I and you can make an ing word. But I think that benefit is marginal. I think just what he did playing in that spot, higher score, it's more worth it. But I mean, the interesting thing is that if he had played it above or below Insurer, he would have blocked Becky's bingo recoiled. So it just happens that way.
Scott does have bingos in response, really a matter of which he prefers at this point in time. So, and that's worth discussing here briefly, is he is down by 82 points in this case. So he'll be back within range and accordingly scoring well, but also not unnecessarily being volatile. If there is a choice between super volatile versus not so much, he will be pondering those and deciding. Gelatine, galanite, and legatine are the three that play through the L, and galanite is a good option here as far as it doesn't give anything needlessly volatile back. It does take a hook of an S at the end, so it isn't closed off. Uh, I like it. It definitely accomplishes what he needs to accomplish here.
Yeah, I think the board is extremely open at this juncture. Just play any bingo. I think there might be slight advantages to playing something that's even more open, but yeah, I think it's gonna be really close. So I think Galanite is fine. Um, yeah.
Becky has Ixnay lined up. Certainly one of the candidate plays. Oxy, of course, using the X hotspot up on the top left is also a commanding option. I think I'm personally going with Oxy because Becky's got the blank at this point in time. So yes, she'd be slightly vowel heavy by keeping AAIN blank, but the blank is on there. And there's just so many uh, ways that those letters can combine, especially with consonants that exist on the board. I'm just going for pure points here, and I think Oxy wins measurably on that basis.
Yeah, the thing about it is whether you want to burn the blank and reach the double word score. So something like inbox, possible in that turn right there. But you keep the Y, AAY, which is not, I mean, you're scoring what, 21 more points. Yeah, but you're keeping a leaf that's quite a bit weaker. So I think Oxy is pretty all right. Yeah, it's a good choice by Becky. And now to Scott. This is the kind of rack that's kind of close to something, but you know, just misses by a bit. But at the same time, given the number of spots that are open, you have to spend a little bit of time to think, am I missing a 50-point play or something like that? And there are actually a few 40 plus pointers that are available. Uh, and in this case, they are all parallel to rejig, uh, MONIE or MONIC, both 40-point plays. Yeah, besides that, not very much that he can do. I think MOA, um, Modek is the clear option. I think in my from my point of view. And you think you do that as well, Jesse?
I think, like you said, anything under rejig. Looks like Scott's got Moni lined up to go underneath that. Monic was mentioned under there. I think any of those are fine. Um, I was looking to see if there's anything really comparable on the board. I think it's too good of an option not to play. There's nothing really under Galanite on either side that's worth Scott playing, just because it doesn't leave him much of anything that would make it worth giving up any number of points. There's no option that's really good that plays down from the first E in Galanite down to the triple word score. There's just really not much of anything. Voiced, interestingly, interesting. Voiced, yeah, it does balance a bit better. I mean, Monic, I understand, leaves VE, which maybe isn't ideal, but I think it's just too many points not to play. Moni, I understand, leaves CV. So maybe if he doesn't see Monic, perhaps that's it. Because he didn't line up Monic on his rack. He lined up Moni. So I guess he was debating between Moni under rejig and voiced. And I can see the hesitation on that basis, leaving VC versus after voiced, you leave MN. And I do understand MN looks a lot better compared to VC when you look at it. But I think if you see Monic, you certainly play at the top there. So yeah, interesting choice here. My guess is just based on not seeing Monic.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he see Monic, you would definitely play it. So Moni CV is not very nice. Um, the two letters that are not nice together. So you can see why he wants to keep something that's nicer. And he might take something that plays in the same position the next turn anyway. So maybe he's thinking about that. C and V, I think the thing about the C and V is that very few, I mean, there are no two-letter words with a V, and there's only CH. So this board has quite a few places to play parallel. So C and V are not strong tiles on this board generally. Um, yeah, but on back to Becky, and she, well, I can't exactly tell what she has arranged on her rack, but she seems not to have be playing a bingo. She plays Anna, A and A, which I think is probably one of the better non-bingo choices that she has. Um, yeah, I think this is a slight miss. She had Amanita, but that was, oh, I guess that is the only bingo available. Yeah,
Yeah, and that would have played to the left of the H in the Hink play that's on the board, all the way up to the triple word score as just one potential spot. I believe there are a couple of under overlap plays on the board, but if you're Scott, something like Maven is certainly a candidate option. In the same area there, you could play Mod, but I again understand the hesitation with a VN leave. I think between VN and DW is a slightly better two tile consonant leave, so I can totally understand him playing Maven.
yeah. Uh,
Plus the W plays elsewhere using the O and recoiled perhaps. I think just on this board, it's a little bit easier to offload the W on the next turn more often than not. So I can totally understand the logic here. Also, because Becky has just played two A's, it is quite clearly a fishing play. The S hooks onto Ha to create, sevens ending in S for Shah. So I mean, you're you're looking to score and ideally set yourself up for the most success possible within the next turn. So yeah, I can totally see Maven as his play here.
yeah, this mentioned on chat that playing VOW, keeping ADEMN actually seems to do better than Maven. So it's actually a 23-point sacrifice, but you keep such a uh, much better leaf, a lot of potential for bingo. So that seems to do outperform Maven Sin. Very interesting. And Bay Knights comes on the board. Uh, Not sure whether there was anything better in that position. Uh, Seems like, oh, there is not an easy word through the T, banditti, that BANDITTI would have scored 8 more points. Yeah, but not the easiest word to see. So Bay Knights, uh, quite a good choice by Becky, and she is 80 points ahead right now after the bingo.
And this is quite interesting as far as potential on this board. White, you pretty much have to take because of the points on one line of thought, but the other is you have W and U. You have one of multiple U's that are unseen. The only U that's been played is in Ensure. The Q is already gone. So the potential if you play wiped and then leave UTS is pulling another U as a worst case scenario. But when you're behind by this much, you wonder if it's really worth worrying about that so much. You really kind of just cross your fingers. Wiped is really hard to turn down. I think it is the right thing to do, but you certainly know he's thinking about the potential of pulling another U in this bag as a worst case. But I think it's correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sets up his S as well. So he has
Yeah.
yeah, so and keeping the S is very important. I mean, there's also Shah. So he, I think in this case, yeah, I think that is the right idea. Um, and now on to Becky's turn. I think Becky can't feel very secure in this position. I mean, if you look at the number of scoring positions on this board, it's kind of scary. I mean, I would be quite worried actually. And she has all one pointers, so I think she's probably thinking if she can dump some tiles, like and try to score. I mean, she has a lead of 40 points, but it's quite easily. Uh, I think it disappears quite quickly if your opponent has the right tiles. So I think I would probably be trying to underlap rejig um, right now if she has the letters for it.
And interestingly, from her point of view, she has a vowel heavy rack. And when she looks at the pool, there's 8 vowels and 17 consonants. So she's expecting more likely than not to draw consonants. Um, but more importantly here, her opponent is, in a lot of cases, having trouble with very few vowels. So yes, Scott has played wiped. The S hook exists there, but there is starting to be the possibility that he doesn't have much to go with that S. And one possible play I can see that might do well is auto using the T in Galanite because it does obscure the S hook onto wiped. It does balance her rack fairly well. And it takes away lots of opportunities for her opponent, underneath of rejig, I think certainly scores more. But I can also see potential for obscuring the spot. Thinking out loud again, underlapping the J and rejig with an A or an O, playing anything underneath, that does limit the W spot as well. Just a few possibilities for Becky to consider. And ultimately, it does look like she's going with a play underneath rejig, and yeah, scores well, makes the hook more or less irrelevant onto wiped, keeps her scoring up. And yeah, can't falter for that. It's a nice play.
Yep. And oh, that's a very nice spot by Scott. Spots that very quickly as well. Out Fox. And yeah, I think that's yeah, it's very nice score for that. Uh, Definitely. Well, I guess it's in terms of equity, it's the right play, but it does kill one of the lines that the S hook of Shah, and I'm not sure whether he'll have many other areas to get back into the game after this.
Interestingly, Outlaws was blocked as a result of Outfox. So Scott has removed that from Becky's options, at least on the left side. So she'll be looking elsewhere instead.
Yeah. Uh, I guess he might. Yeah. I guess Outlaws is just. Sorry, Outfox is probably just the only thing, the best thing you can do in that position, even though it blocks the Shah hook. It just happens to block Outlaws.
Yeah, and for Becky, of course, she's not liking that because that would have sealed the deal, I think, given the nature of the bag at this point in time, barring any sort of monster play from Scott in response. So this makes it a bit complicated, in terms of what she's pondering. We have 18 tiles in total that Becky can't see. 7 of those are on Scott's rack. So there's essentially, depending, I would say 2 plays on average for both of them before the bag's empty. Um, Unless one of them bingos again, it might be one. So you're starting to think about potential end game scenarios here. So for Becky, she's got UW. Yeah, she has out. She has nice letters. There's still a U additionally unseen to her, which would be really challenging to navigate through if she pulled that at this point in time. So with outlaws being unplayable, she's really got to think about uncoupling the U and or the W, depending on what's on the board. Uh, I think more likely than not, scoring to keep up her lead is good here. So I think she's probably considering options involving the W that just happened to score on this board. It looks like she's looking underneath of jaw to create options with jaw. Wast in this case, she's got lined up, and that certainly scores a fair bit and allows her to aim to outrun without having to bingo necessarily. And that's a reasonable line of logic.
Yeah, I mean, in this position, things like, I mean, tiles like the Z would be very valuable. So, um, the other question is, if your opponent has a Z, where are the dangerous spots? And I think the answer is really too many. So, so in this case, playing few more letters. I mean, because she also has the option of playing WO on top of Outfox. I think this is the right idea. Playing more letters, scoring more, and yeah, I think you turn over a little bit more. You give yourself a better chance of picking up the blank, picking up Z. All uh, good tiles to have. Yeah, so I think this is the right idea.
And then meanwhile, for Scott, it makes things interesting. Just again, given the lack of vowels on his rack, he can't necessarily infer much from Becky's rack because he's seeing from his point of view a balanced pool. Um, her playing the S doesn't necessarily suggest she has the last one. Just it just looks like a nice scoring play. So he's got to figure out here how he can give himself an obscure chance. There's not all that many. I think interestingly enough, I think he might have to leave the Owen outfox here. I do think, given that there are 7, he's not going to change. Obviously, after this, an exchange is not possible. So, what is he going to do that sets himself up for more chances to succeed than not? He's going to want to avoid the U's, ideally, or at least get one, if nothing else. Holding the A back, he'd only do that if he can score enough in a reasonable fashion. So what do you do that really scores really well here? There's, if you were to use the O and out fox, there's just something like, I don't know, Molt, which doesn't even score that much. There's Platy on top of the G and Galanite. There's a few options that comes up for me. What are you thinking, Weibin?
Yeah, I think keeping the vowel is helpful. So I might not play Lady, but in this case, it just seems like he has to hope for one of the good tiles to save him, like the blank or maybe the Z. But the Z itself, I think, might not be enough as well. Um, Polt and like Polt, Molt, Mott, MOTT, POT, POTT. These are all options that play through the O. Those are things that I would probably be thinking of, just because, yeah, you want to keep things open. And yeah, this is the other idea that I was thinking about, which is opening up something, a new line. But I I am afraid that this might not score enough as well. I think it's it's yeah, I think your opponent can quite easily outrun something like this. So I might just take the points with and use the O, something like Polt or yeah. So between Polt and like POTT or Molt and MOTT, keeping the L might be useful in this case, because if you pick up the Z, you will have lazy, um, the same spot where you played where you were mentioned play T. But of course, ZA is also available. Yeah, just as an additional option.
And a fun hook on Milt is actually Milts with the Z, and Scott has actually drawn that. Besides the S hook, of course, yeah, the Z is another one. So he He'll have some choices there on the hook he's created. Becky has at least 2 8s that are playable through the D in wiped. Um, so she has some scoring choices. Oddly enough, at the bottom where Scott has played Milt, there are 7s, but none that play on this board specifically. Um, Iliacus and Siliqua are 7s that just don't happen to go down, but there are some 8s through the D.
Yeah, I guess what Becky has to think about is if for some in
Looks like
some
Becky was
case,
pondering blocking
yeah,
at first, in a worst case scenario involving that eye, but she's going back and rightly taking some more time to see if she can find something. Becky is low on time. She's got just over 4 minutes. Scott has just under 15. So he's got lots of time to permute some pre-endgame scenarios here. Becky, with 4 tiles in the bag, is starting to do some pre-endgame analysis here herself, but very hard to do when you don't have a whole lot of time.
yeah, I think well, I mean, Milt, I thought um would not score enough, but I think the interesting thing is if Becky decides to play a bingo, and Scott happens to have a big Z play, maybe even a bingo with a Z that you know catches tiles from the remaining letters from Becky, Scott might actually pull it out, pull off this win, right? So um, yeah, actually there is a bit of danger on this board, and I think bingoing may not be the right idea. Uh, she plays LIEU to kind of restrict the lines available to Scott, but there's still the Milt hook, which is now open for Scott to use.
So from Scott's point of view, he's going to be looking at 1 in the bag, and that is a scary set of 8 possible letters. As far as if
Yeah,
you're thinking from his point of view, he's shaking his head looking at the camera. Thanks for that, Scott. He is seeing that, yeah, there's lots and lots of possibilities for his opponent as far as bingo's out here. So he'll be looking to obscure the hooks at the bottom where he's just created opportunity here. Uh, it's really just seeing, can he actually do something reasonably involving the Z at the bottom, at least with Milts, in terms of his options. And if not, what does he do instead? I mean, there's the standard ZAS, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily the right play here. Um, and in lieu of that, what other ones exist instead?
yeah. So I mean, in this kind of position, what I might be thinking about is, if I play one tile and I draw the blank, what do I actually have? Like, if because if I draw any other tile, I think my opponent is very likely to have a bingo or very likely to win anyway. So that's probably where I would start, what I would start to do. Uh, Scott has a lot of time, so I think he can permute through more than that scenario. But that's probably what I would start with. Um, and then yeah, but I think even if he plays one tile and he draws a blank, um, I don't think he is going to win. He is thinking of doing that. So what's he gonna? He might get like upstairs or something. But uh, do you see any other plays, like any possible wins if he picks the blank? Hmm. Yeah,
I'm not
interesting.
seeing anything really obvious. It looked like he was briefly contemplating dropping the Z on the O and out Fox for 33, um, because that does hypothetically put him in range if he were to pull the blank. So I think what he's decided in this case is that there's only one tile that he can win with in his mind, and that is to pull the blank. And otherwise sees himself as losing regardless. So I understand the line of logic here. maybe worth going through more options in the end game, but now he's just smiling and laughing and throwing his hand that way because he knows Becky has been going out here. It's just a question of what she plays instead. But I think from Scott's point of view, he's thinking the only way he wins is pulling the blank, and that makes so a very understandable play.
Yeah. So the thing is that if he, I mean, he has to hope that if he pulls the blank, Becky also does not block the, the milk hook because I think that's his only chance where he has to play upstairs in that position. So he has to hope that Becky makes a mistake, even if he pulls the blank. Yeah, but I mean, creatively he has to try, I think. So I think playing the ZO is probably the right choice. I don't think he has any winning chances otherwise.
And that's the human factor, right? Where it's just like, looking at a machine, it's easy enough, relatively speaking, for us to look and say there's no chance at winning. But then you look at the human factor and think, where is a human chance of winning your possibility? And that's probably his way of looking for a human chance of potentially winning. But that's also because Becky is low on time, so there's also that consideration in his case is maybe he wanted to play quicker, seeing that as a possibility and put the pressure back on Becky in case that blank was in the bag. So all possible lines of logic as to what might have led him to play relatively quick and put that Z down. But yeah, Becky is instead just going to play instead and end the game here. Lots of options, and this one, along with everything else, perfectly fine. So she's going out with instead. Scott immediately reveals the tiles, and that will effectively end the game. So